الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Continue inshallah ta'ala with Akhsar Al-Mokhtasarat. And we stopped by the chapter of As-Sulh. Right, but we can review quickly what has been mentioned before. So we took the Al-Rahn and Al-Daman and Al-Kafala and Al-Hawala. And these are all means for the tawthiqah or guaranteeing the contract of loan or the like of it. And talked about the rahn or the collateral and the permissibility of it and how it's treated as amana in the hand of the murtahin, and when is it permissible to be used and when it's not, and the dhaman, the guarantee, and the kafala. And we talked about the difference between the dhaman and the kafala. Al-kafala is bibadan, with physically guaranteeing the presence of one of the two sides of the contract, mainly if it's a loan or the like of that, is then the borrower. And more rulings. And then al-hawala was the last thing, which is come from tahawul, is transferring the loan to someone else. And with the conditions of it, على دين مستقر إن اتفق الدينان جنسا ووقتا ووصفا وقدرا وتصح بخمسة على خمسة من عشرة وعكسه. And الرضا or the acceptance is what's recognized is المحيل والمحتال على غير مليء. Who's the محيل? الحوالة. We have three parties in الحوالة. So one is the original lender, and we have the borrower, and then we have the third one, which is the loan will be transferred to him. So al-muhil is the middle one, the borrower. The borrower is the muhil, and al-muhtal, the original lender. The original lender is the muhtal, and al-muhal alayhi, the one that we will transfer the loan to. So who are the two that the rida or acceptance is to be recognized? Is al-muhil and al-muhtal, but especially with the condition of the muhtal. The muhtal, the original lender, is his permission is with the condition على غير مليء. If the muhal alayhi, if the one that you want to transfer the loan to, he is not rich or he doesn't have the means, so that means he has to accept, because he might not get his money, right? And there are more to it, of course, and sometimes these rulings with the differences of opinions, the judges in different parts of the world, they would take different opinions different. For example, when you have three parties like this, and the Prophet ﷺ, he commanded al-muhtal to accept the transfer of the loan if it fulfill its conditions, if of course he's been transferred to a mali, someone that is, al-mil is when something is full, so someone has means. But for example, if in a situation where the third party or the one that is the loan is transferred to, the muhtal, the lender, he might not feel comfortable going after him for the loan. There's some level of a respect or relationship that makes him be in unease to go after that one that he did not give him the money to start with. So I'm just saying some things might be recognized by the judge, for example, or things like that to be observed. But this is the simple means of the masail here. The next chapter is As-Sulh. And As-Sulh can be, in general, refers to when you make peace between two parties, reconciliation, right? settlement. And the subject of a sulh is mentioned in many different chapters of fiqh. So it depends on what the chapter of the fiqh that the sulh is about. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the believers, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. The believers are brothers, who أَصْلِحُوا. This is the command, rectify, reconcile between your brothers. In the subject of, if it's in the chapter of mu'amalat, so this is الصلح في الأموال. الصلح specifically when it comes to money settlements or reconciliation with regards to money, rights, loans, things like this. Not the sulh between the spouses or sulh between two countries. All of these have its own rulings in their chapters. But here, الصلح, he says, والصلح في الأموال. So since it's a transaction, so that means الصلح is a form of عقد, is a contract between two parties. Before, the things that we mentioned before, it was توثيقة. It was, to guarantee the loan and things like this. And al-bay' in itself is a loan. As-sulh is, and this is a mas'ala where the ulama, they talk about whether a sulh is a contract or it's basically ibra, as they call it, someone to forgive, someone to let go. And that some rulings will apply here. So it requires for us to understand the essence of it. A contract meaning, because when you have a dispute in wealth, as we will see, when someone wants to make a settlement, that means as if you are initiating a new contract. Because the original one, they have a dispute and they're not able to do it. One party is not able to fulfill it. And especially when there's no bayina, when there's no clear evidences to see whose right is who. So then it's better for them to take the path of reconciling or settlement. So in this case, as if it's a new contract. So the new rulings will apply accordingly. So let's see, inshallah ta'ala, word by word. Inshallah. He says, وَالصُّلْحُ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ قِسْمًا. وَالصُّلْحُ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ قِسْمًا. الصُّلْح, again, as we said, الصُّلْح is mean to reconcile. In the amwal, in the wealth, and al-amwal, as mentioned before, what is amwal? The plural of mal. And al-mal is anything yatamawwal, anything that has a value to it, anything that has monetary value to it. So والصلح في الأموال قسمان, two types, two categories, two kinds or two types of الصلح. So again, what is الصلح? You have منازعة, you have a dispute. So الصلح is to break this away, to break the منازعة or to break the dispute. So the first type, when it comes to money again, he says أحدهما, one of these two types, على الإقرار. And if you go down, الثاني, القسم الثاني على الإنكار. So one is upon الإقرار and one is upon الإنكار. الإقرار, which he says على الإقرار, and الإقرار is two types, right? So you have two types of sulh, and the first one has two types, has two subcategories. The first one is al-iqrar. Al-iqrar, when someone makes iqrar, that means he says, ana uqir, that means I confess, I acknowledge. And al-qarar is not necessarily the decision, nowadays it's used, but it's the bottom of things. So al-iqrar here, what is meant by al-iqrar is when someone would acknowledge upon himself something. So basically, he would say that I acknowledge that the other side, the person, I owe him this much money. So because if you have two parties and they have a dispute, one might ignore, what's the opposite of al-iqrar? He deny that he owes him anything. Right? So this is the second type. The first one, he acknowledged, yes. And whether there's evidence or there's no evidence. If there's evidence, if the matter is clear and there's evidence, then people can take their rights. But what if they're not able to? But here, the first one, he's muqir. And actually, when you write some formula, even the letter of sulh, you would say, uqirru ana, I uqir, I a'tarif, meaning I acknowledge, I confess. And then you write your name. That such and such have this or whatever. So this is al-iqrar, is when someone is acknowledging, not denying that the other person has rights on him. So this is الصلح على الإقرار. وهو نوعان. There are two types of this. So we have one side is saying, I gave this guy $1,000 and he's not giving me my money back. So they come in front of the judge. The judge asks the borrower, is this guy saying the truth? He says, yes. This is al-iqrar. He's not denying anything, not denying part of it, not denying anything. Yes. Of course, there's evidence. There's no need for this, but there is no evidence. So you say, yes, I acknowledge that. على الإقرار. So the first type, he says, الصلح على جنس الحق. الصلح على جنس الحق. The sulh upon the same type of the right. Al-jins, we said, is the kind. So the haq, the right here was dollars. So as-sulh now we're going to have to make a settlement with the dollars. With the subject of a-sulh is dollars because the haq was in dollars. The issue here is what is the dispute between them is dollars. The haq is that he owes me $1,000. This is the haq. So this is jinsul haq, is the dollars. It might be something else, a building or a car or whatever. So jinsul haq is the exact same kind that the dispute is upon. And al-haq here is not necessarily the truth, the right, refers to the right. So as-sulhu ala jins al-haq. He gives an example. مثل, the like of which, أن يقر له بدين أو عين. That he, أن يقر, that he would يقر, that he would acknowledge, that he would confess, or what's another word for it? That he would admit, acknowledge, right? So أن يقر له. So usually, as we said, he doesn't have to mention all of the different parties. You would understand. أن يقر له. So the one that is accused, he would acknowledge to the other side. In this case, for example, if it's a lender and a borrower, so the borrower would acknowledge to the lender له بدين, with regards to a dain, which is a loan. أو عين. عين is what? Not the eyes. Al-ayn means a specific item. Something, a specific item. Not something in general. Not some form of a right or something. No, it's a ayn. Ayn, that means it's this specific car, this specific house, money, things like this. فيضع أو يهب له البعض ويأخذ الباقي فيصح. So as a result of that, he acknowledged that he owes him, he's supposed to give that much money. So the sulh is what? It's not that he's going to give it all. If he gives it all, then it's not sulh. This is what's normally things to be. So the settlement here is فيضع. يضع, he would put down. So فيضع, meaning the lender will put down. أو يهب, or he will give as a gift. يهب from الهبة. له, to him. البعض, part of it or some of it. If he forgives it all, mashallah, this is good. But as-sulh, the settlement is that he would, instead of 1,000, they will say 500 or something like this. أو يهب له البعض ويأخذ الباقي. ويأخذ الباقي, and he would take الباقي or the rest. And الباقي, either it refers to what is left or what is left, the rest, or it refers to the الباقي is what stays forever, right? So in the sense that when you take something, then this is what is left. So ويأخذ الباقي فيصح. This will be valid, it's correct, but with conditions that comes forward. So الصلح على جنس الحق مثل أن يقر, and as you see, يقر, يضع, يهب, يأخذ is all with a fatha, because what? Why is it as a fatha? نحو, grammar. Why? يقر is a verb, present tense, has a fatha at the end. What's the next verb? يضع, فيضع, and يهب, يأخذ. Why not يضع, يهب, يأخذ? This is مضارع, this is present tense, because sometimes the مضارع or the present tense might have this mansub because of حروف that is منصوبات comes before it. An is one of them. So when you say أن يقر, and because of an, because of the presence of an لن كي لعل كيف, like this. So أن يقر, right? And then فيضع that comes later is معطوف, that means it comes after it's what's معطوف? It's as if you say an and. So يضع here it refers to it. فيضع أو يهب, the same thing, because it all refers to the end. But anyway, so but we're just saying so that we read it right. So going back to the مسألة, الصلح على جنس الحق, to the same kind of الحق, مثل أن يقر له بدين أو عين, the like of that he acknowledge the dain or the ain or the specific item. فيضع, so he would put down, أو يهب, or he give as a gift, له, to him, البعض, some of it, ويأخذ الباقي, and he would take the rest. فيصح. It's permissible, but with three conditions. The first one, ممن يصح تبرعه, from the one that his tabarru', his donation, can be accepted from him. Here, not تصرفه. التصرف is to deal with whatever money the way he like, to give as a gift, to sell, and so on. But here they mention التبرع specifically. ممن يصح تبرعه. And التبرع is to donate. Why? So that it excludes the one that is not permissible for him to donate. You cannot donate from someone else's money, or you cannot donate from an orphan's money. Things like this. So ممن يصح تبرعه. This is because again it's his money, so he can put down whatever he likes. ممن يصح تبرعه. But here بغير لفظ صلح. And the same thing with the child, he cannot unless it's been approved. بغير لفظ صلح. This is an important one. Without the love, a love is what? Is the word. Or anything that gives the meaning, not necessarily the word. And also in Nahwa, there's difference between al-lafz wal-kalima. The word and the love. Love is less than the kalima. Al-kalima is what gives a meaning. But a love can be something that doesn't give a complete meaning. But here, بغير لفظ صلح. So with the condition that when they do this, he put down some of the loan, but they would use a different word than صلح. Then I'm making صلح, I'm making settlement. Why? Because a صلح is a contract. So if he gave him $1,000, for him to make a contract as if he's purchasing his money with less, it's not permissible to purchase money with less money. If you take it as a bay', you cannot purchase money with less. So that's why they say if they not use the word sulh in this case, to be very precise. So they can use something else. You know, al-ibra, they call it, or hiba, gift. I let go, cancel, you know, things like this, right? But there's nowadays even, which is another opinion, it's okay because it's not really a contract of selling, because this type of sulh is not really reselling the debt, but rather it's putting down something. So there's a rule in the muamalat in general, is that al-ibra bil-ma'ani. In the uqud, in the transactions, what matters are the meanings, not the wordings necessarily. And this is a very important principle. So if people make a title for a contract of musharaka, mashallah, sounds nice. But then all the points of the musharaka, or even one of it doesn't really apply for the musharaka, for partnership. It applies for a loan, but they call it musharaka. So should we consider it as musharaka or consider it as a loan? What matters is the meanings that are there, not what the words they say. And as you see how the words can change and how people can and play with words. But what matters is the meanings of it. But here we're taking here بغير لفظ صلح, to avoid the riba. So it's not sulh. It's not buying the loan or having another contract. It's just letting go a part of it. This is if it's from جنس الحق. Is it clear? بغير.
Once this is determined, it's no longer a sulh.
Once this is determined, is not. What do you mean?
The reconciliation.
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking about sulh, but then you can't call it sulh.
Yes, in this part, in this type, you cannot call it sulh, even though they mention it here as sulh. Yeah, it's a good point, and that's why they say, those who said, why you bring it in the chapter of sulh when it's not sulh? Because this is a dispute in money, so they mention it in the sulh. But to avoid the sulh as a contract, they say use another word. It's not really sulh. You're letting go. It's part of the sulh, part of the settlement that we won't consider it as a contract of buying or rebuying the thing. We'll just call it something else. Just basically forgiving, right? So that's why it's بغير لفظ صلح. And the third one, بلا شرط, without a condition. Without a condition. Without a condition meaning that the one that acknowledged the right or the other one, he would say, I let go for part of it with the condition that you do this or do that. You know, there should not be any condition there. So, right? So this is something that is not permissible to make a condition for the sulh in this case. So this is is it clear? So I would let go half of it, but you have to give me your house for a month or whatever, you know, or do me this favor, that favor. No, it's not. It's not. Then it's something else. So بلا شرط. So this is again we go to the first kind على الإقرار الصلح على جنس الحق. So remember جنس الحق. So it's the same right that needs to be given back. مثل أن يقر له بدين أو عين. Specific دين and specific عين. فيضع, let put down أو يهب or give as a gift له البعض, some of it, ويأخذ الباقي, and he takes the rest. فيصح, it's valid ممن يصح, the three conditions, ممن يصح تبرعه, from someone that can give or donate from his money, and بغير لفظ صلح, without mentioning the word صلح, because you're not making another contract, you're just letting go some بلا شرط, without a condition. The second type of al-iqrar, we're still in a sulh al-iqrar. Sulh al-iqrar meaning the borrower, in the case of a borrower, he acknowledged the right that is imposed upon him. He borrowed $1,000 and he's not able to pay it back. So this is the dispute. So they're trying to reach a settlement. So the borrower is not denying the fact that he took the $1,000. So either it's from the same jins, the sulh will be from the same money or the same kind of whatever the right is. The second type is على غير جنسه. على غير جنسه. That means the sulh is not going to be with the same thing that the dispute is about. So again, he borrowed $1,000, but the sulh, the settlement, is not going to be returning money or forgiving a portion of the money or dollars. There's no money, there's no dollars. Either it's another currency, for example, or some materialistic thing, you know, something physical, عرض, as they call it. So instead of giving half of they're trying to reach a settlement. He doesn't have the $1,000, but he has a car that is worth 500, right? So he's gonna give him the car, and with the value, calculating the value, and he would forgive for the rest. So this is على غير جنسه. So على غير جنسه, it's one of two things also. فإن كان بأثمان عن أثمان, and by the way, this is, you would see that it depends on what we mentioned before in the previous chapters, like the riba and things like this. So the first case, فإن كان بأثمان عن أثمان. If it was أثمان, أثمان is the plural of ثمن, price. So if it was أثمان عن أثمان, price versus another price, that means it's money, but not from the same jins. So it's a different currency. فصرف. فصرف, that means the rule applies here is the sarf, the rule of a sarf. A sarf is when you basically exchange money with money. This is called sarf. right? As-sarafa, the places where they exchange the money, money exchange. What does that mean? The rules that was applied before. So if the loan was in dollars, but he has euro, right? So in that case, it has to be that the taqabud has to be immediate, has to be hand to hand. So the price of the euro today, at the day when they're making the settlement, the loan is 1,000. He's gonna give, he has euro that is worth today, according to the currency exchange, $500. So say, for example, it's 400 euros, for example, right? So he's gonna give him 400. It has to be given in the same instant with the price of the day, hand to hand. It cannot be deferred. The sarf cannot be deferred. As we said, when the riba, when it comes to currency, if you're exchanging money, it is not permissible to be deferred. It has to be hand to hand. And it has to be, if it's hand to hand, then it's okay. If it's different prices, of course, because it's different prices, but not to defer. So that's the meaning of, or significance of تصرف. إن كانت بأثمان عن أثمان. And the dispute like that is so many. For example, people when they're in different countries or they have, someone took a loan, gave a loan in dollars, and now he returned or he went to another country, and the guy that he gave him the loan is in a different country. And can he give him his loan with another currency? Yes, as long as it's with the price of the currency on the day when he's giving back the money. And it's not permissible to make a deal or to borrow money with a certain currency with the condition that you would return it to me in a different currency. This is something on the side. People do that all the time, and it's haram and it's not permissible. So someone wants, he's giving a loan to someone in rupees. Is that saying right? Is it P or B? P, rupees, right? So he's given a loan in rupees. But he says to the guy, if you give it to me after a year, I want it in dollars. So today the rupees is, how much is $10 in rupees? Oh, is it? I have to be very specific. So you understand what I'm saying? So if he gives him the loan in rupees, then it is not permissible to make a condition that you have to give it to me in dollars. That's not permissible. 834. Right. Because in certain countries it might be fluctuating. So he wants his money in dollars, or he is going to meet him next year in America. He doesn't want it here. He wanted to have it in America in dollars, for example. It's not permissible when he's given the loan to make that as a condition. But at the moment of paying the loan, then he gave him 1,000 rupees, for example. So at the day when he's paying back, then he can give him in dollars with the price of the dollars on that day, the day of giving back the loan, not the day when they had initiate the loan, right? So, and there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ clearly states this. So again, now we're talking about settlement. So they're trying to settle the loan between them. If it's different thaman, if it's from athman, gold, the same thing, gold versus silver, money versus gold, then it has to be sarf, has to be hand to hand, cannot be deferred, cannot be tomorrow. Sitting in a settlement with everyone, okay, sure, I'll get you the money tomorrow. It doesn't work. It has to be hand to hand, right? Because it's sarf, because it's money versus money, two separate currencies. Please. Then the second type, in the second type of the first إقرار, which is على غير جنسه وبعرض عن نقد وعكسه فبيع. If it's عرض, العرض or العرض is non-currencies, so commodity, something, right? عن نقد. So instead of giving him back money, he's going to give him something that has a value, a car, a fridge, whatever there is. So in that case, will be in return of whatever the value that they would agree, and then he would forgive the rest. Or the opposite. Maybe was the loan a physical thing, and he's returning back money instead, and less than what it's supposed to be worth. But in that case, the sulh here will be what? Will be فَبَيْعٌ. It's bay'. In this case, it's buying and selling as if they're selling something new. Why is that? So you understand the mas'ala here? Someone gave someone $1,000 as a loan, and there's a dispute. He's not able to pay it back. So they come to settle the matter. He's not asking for the 1,000. Let's find a settlement. and he would reconcile and take less. The guy doesn't have any money whatsoever, but he has something of value. He has a bed that he wants to sell, anything, right? So it's worth 200 and something else worth this. So the total is 500. So would you take 500 and forgive the rest? Sure, no problem. Now he gave him these two things or one thing or whatever. That is considered bay'ah. It's considered as if he's selling it to him. What does that mean? There's khiyar. Remember the khiyar? The choice of returning back things. What if he gave him something that didn't work? Or there's deficiency in it? Or they're still dealing with in the majlis and he says, no, I don't want to. You know, all what applies for al-bay' before applies here in this case. That's why it says فَبَيْعٌ. So he has the khiyar to return it. If there is problem in it, you know, he give him a car instead, and then he takes the car and he find it that it's have this and that bad in it, right? He can go back and says, no, I want to return this car. So if you're given something as a gift, you can't return a gift. If you're given something as people might think it's a settlement, you cannot go back in this. No, you can't. This is bay'. This is to be looked at purely as a new contract of buying and selling. I purchased this car for that much money, and it has a problem in it. So whether they take it back or they might do the arsh, right? Remember the arsh? They will give him the differences in value. That this car, if it's doesn't have this problem, it's worth 500, and this is what I got it for with the settlement. But with this issue, it's worth 300. So he owes him 200 from the settlement, right? And he has the right, he's entitled for this after he agreed already to the settlement that was 500. Is it clear? So when we look at it again, الثاني على غير جنسه, if it's not from the same jins of الحق or the right, فإن كان بأثمان عن أثمان فصرف وبعرض عن نقد وعكسه, and the opposite is فبيع. So either it can be صرف or بيع, and the rule of صرف applies and the rules of البيع applies in this case. So this is الصلح على الإقرار. Is it clear? So we have الصلح على الإقرار, which is the first kind. Either it's على جنس الحق or على غير جنسه. Either it's from the same, the settlement isn't from the same sort of thing that the dispute is about, or it's something else. You know, and if it's from the same one, it has conditions, the three conditions. ممن يصح تبرعه, without the love of الصلح, that means he's giving it, he's letting it go, he's forgiving without a condition. If it's different jins, if it's different kind, then we look at it. If it's a different currency, because it's different jins now, it's different kind. He gave him, the dispute is about $1,000, but he doesn't have dollars. Either he has money or gold and silver. This is thaman an thaman. So the rules of sarf applies. It has to be hand to hand. If it's not thaman, if it's a commodity, then in that case, it's bay'. It's buying and selling, and all the rules of buying and selling applies. That's why a sulh is bay'. Sulh is a aqd, is a contract where you, again, as if you're buying or selling again. Clear? Is it complicated? But if you break it down, if you kind of take them away to make sure that it's clear with the different branches, right? You can branch it out, inshallah. Maybe we can make a project instead of having the word. You guys branch out things to make it looks nice, and we can present it, inshallah. All of these different, what do you call it? We call it shajara, like a tree, right? Maybe we can do that, inshallah. Make it easy for those who. We still have the second kind. All of what we mentioned before is what الصلح على الإقرار. الإقرار is affirm or the acknowledgement of things. And remember that these words are used in law. You know, and al-iqrar, if you just search the word iqrar, you would find it in the courts and disputes and things like this. And you go to government agencies and you want to take something, write me an iqrar. You know, they're still in the old-fashioned stuff. You have to write, أقر أنا such and such. Then I will return this back, and you know, things like this. So this is al-iqrar. Iqrar ala, so الصلح على الإقرار. So the settlement is on the iqrar, he acknowledged. The second type, ala al-inkar. Now he's denying. He's not acknowledging that he took the $1,000. No, he's denying. He says, I didn't take nothing from this guy. Or I took 500 only and he's saying 1,000. He's not, he's lying. Or, so على الإنكار. بأن, he says, بأن يدعي عليه. So يدعي. When you have a dispute, you have a مدعي and مدعى عليه. المدعي is the one that claimed, the one that has the dispute. So the other one is مدعى عليه, he's the one that is being accused. So بأن يدعي عليه. So you have one, the lender is having a claim or a case here, يدعي عليه. And بأن, because of أن, you see يدعي with a فتح. بأن يدعي عليه. So the example here that he is claiming or accusing him, accusing who? The borrower. فينكر. So he is then, as a result of that, فينكر, he's denying. الإنكار, forbidding the evil. النهي عن المنكر. So فينكر, that means he's denying. or يسكت, or he's silent. This is again in front of the judge or in front of the arbitrator, whatever. And أو يسكت, he's silent. What chapter are we in? Sulh. We are in the chapter of what? Sulh. We're not in the chapter of Al-Qada. Al-Qada is what? The judge is going to rule. So there's major difference between hukm. You make a hukm. Hukm is ruling versus that you make sulh. Sulh is settlement. So when you make, and the same thing, just a little bit on the side like this, and when people have disputes and they come to the imam of the masjid or they go to a sheikh or a alim or something, if you come with a dispute and you want hukm, the hukm is lazim. If the person makes a hukm, you cannot take it back. He doesn't have to be a judge in the system. If he makes a hukm, it's final, it's binding. So for example, a husband and a wife, and they're having an issue and dispute, and they come and the sheikh or whatever, he's going to make a hukm, who's wrong and who's right, or money disputes or whatever there is. If he makes a hukm, you cannot say, I don't like that guy, because he has no authority over you, right? He's not going to go after you, send the police. I don't know, he did not say the truth, and I'm not going to give you nothing. This is a sinful act. Why? Because this is hukm. But if it's sulh, and that's different than fatwa. Fatwa is different. If you're getting a fatwa, you don't have to take the fatwa. It's up to you. If fatwa meaning it's not haram and halal, he's just giving you what you should do. But again, going back here. So when we're talking about sulh, the judge or the one that is making the sulh, he's not going to ask the person to swear by Allah that he took or he didn't take. Because al-bayina ala man idda'a. The evidence is for the one that has a claim. وعلى واليمين على من أنكر. And the one that denies, he swears by Allah that this guy is lying. And if he swears by Allah and there's no bayina, there's no evidence, this is in the case there's no evidences, there's evidence, the matter is over. There's no evidence and it's just a word of mouth. So one accused and the one is accused of, he would swear by Allah that he doesn't have anything upon him, so the judge would dismiss the case. Right? So even in the judicial system in Islam, if anyone accuses anyone of anything, just so and so, he stole my car. No evidence whatsoever. And the car is not to be found. Is that a case? Yes. But no need for lawyers or anything like that. The accused will come in front of the judge, and the judge will ask the mudda'i, the one that claims, do you have any proof or evidence? He doesn't have anything. Right? So then the judge will dismiss the case? No. He will ask the mudda'i ali, the accused, to say wallahi and swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he did not steal his car. And if he says this, because still maybe he did, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, the fear of Allah will make him say the truth, right? But if he says wallahi I didn't do it, if he's a liar, then this is yamin ghamus, is a very dangerous one. That makes the person go to the hellfire, wal-'adhu billah. And if he swears by Allah that he didn't take anything, then the case is dismissed. So here, we're not in the qada, we're not in the subject of al-hukm, we are in the sulh, in the settlement. So, على الإنكار بأن يدعي عليه فينكر أو يسكت. He has the right, be silent. So he says, I didn't take anything from him, or he's silent. يصالحه ثم يصالحه, then he would make صلح with him فيصح. It's valid. And by the way, these things can happen, and the other side will make the sulh, and people might forget. Doesn't have to be that they have a dispute. He forgot whether is he truly, because they didn't write things down, there's no evidence. So things like this can happen, or a person might be accused of something, and he doesn't want to be shown that he's accused and that his reputation in front of people. So he just makes as many, even when people do in corporations and things like this, instead of going through the court system and things like this, just make a settlement and get it over with. So sometimes these things might happen. So يصالحه فيصح, it's valid. ويكون, then the sulh becomes إبراء في حقه وبيعا في حق مدعي. Again, when you make sulh, remember when in the subject of a sulh, there is the outcome of the sulh, either forgiveness, hiba, gift, or bay' or sarf, right? Or here إبراء في حقه. إبراء, براءة من الله ورسوله, that means distancing oneself. So إبراء في حقه, that means he let go when it comes to his right. He's who's the one that is going to have إبراء? Who wants to save himself from the trouble? المدعى عليه. You're accused of taking $1,000 loan, and you didn't, and the other guy doesn't have any proof, right? But you don't want to go through going to the court and all of these things, so you want to make a settlement. So if you make a sulh, give him 200 and be quiet, right? This is valid إبراء في حق. So the one that is given, the one that denied that he took anything, and he's honest, if he does make a sulh in this case, this is إبراء. What's the name of this transaction? إبراء في حق. He's saving his honor and dignity. He's out of goodness of his heart. This is إبراء في حق. This is الإبراء. Like the first case, when a person made the sulh with the iqrar, it was without condition, it was out of the goodness in oneself. But then for the other guy, he gave 200, or he gave a car, or he gave whatever. So the one al-mudda'i, the one that accused, becomes bay'an fi haqqi mudda'i. It becomes buying in his case. وَبَيْعًا fi haqqi mudda'i. So the mudda'i then, this case will be, he purchased it. So the same ruling applies with bay'. Clear? So the rules of al-bay' or buying and selling applies. وَبَيْعًا fi haqqi mudda'i, as mentioned before. Is it clear? So let's read again. على الإنكار. الثاني على الإنكار, if he denies بأن يدعي عليه فينكر أو يسكت. ثم يصالحه, then he makes sulh with him. فيصح, it's valid, it's correct. ويكون, the sulh becomes إبراء في حقه في حق المنكر, so for the side of the one that denies, وبيعا في حق مدع, and buying for the case of the mudda'i or the accuser. Right? So this is how things are. There's one left, one sentence at the end. He says, وَمَنْ عَلِمَ كَذِبَ نَفْسِهِ فَالصُّلْحُ بَاطِلٌ فِي حَقِّهِ. وَمَنْ عَلِمَ, you guys are there? Whoever knows كَذِبَ نَفْسِهِ, he knows that he's lying. كَذِبَ, lying, نَفْسِهِ, his nafs. Whoever knows that he's a liar, and all of what's mentioned before, even if it's sulh. We're not talking about al-qada. Qada is different, worse. A person might think for sulh, even if a person is lying, but he agreed. The other side, he says, yeah, sure, no problem, right? So he thinks there's no fault on him. No. من علم كذب نفسه, if he knows that he's lying, فالصلح باطل في حق. The sulh is batil, is invalid في حقه, when it comes to what he took or what he received or whatever rights that he benefited from. Is he going to get anything or remove anything? No. But this is between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what is meant here. And this is also a subject in matters of fiqh and disputes. The matter is not over because there's day of judgment and things like this. And people might have evidence or not have evidence, or as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said even for people when they come and dispute إن أحدكم يكون ألحن بحجته, one has more eloquence in speech, he's proving his point, the other guy, and he's the liar one, and the other guy that has the right, he's not able to articulate himself, he's not able to defend himself. So the Prophet ﷺ, being as a human being, any human being, he will give the judgment based on the evidences or what being said. So he would, if he gives the ruling for the one that is the liar, because he's the one that presented things, he's given him a qit'a min nar, he's given a piece of the fire to him. So when people say, I got a rule from the court, that means you're safe in the day of judgment. It doesn't mean anything. If you're a liar, yes, you get it, and no one can dispute that. But in the day of judgment, a person would not, unless he repents to Allah and return back the rights of others. So this is the same thing. Same thing applies with even sometimes in divorce. The man says, I only divorced his wife. He divorced his wife 2 times. She says 3 times. And then if it's 3 times, that means it's forbidden for them to go back to one another. He says only 2 times. He said, and he swears by Allah. And she knows for sure, with certainty, that it's 3 times. Then what's the rule here? The judge won't be able to give the rule of a final divorce. She has to make khul'. She has no choice but to make khul'. Because it's haram for her to be with him. But the ahkam, hukm al-zahir, or the apparent rulings cannot be applied in this case because there's no evidence. If there's evidence, then it's fine. So since there's no evidence, then there is something else here is to be applied. So the same thing, وَمَنْ عَلِمَ كَذِبَ نَفْسِي فَالصُّلْحُ بَاطِلٌ فِي حَقٍّ. فَالصُّلْحُ بَاطِلٌ فِي حَقٍّ is not valid in his case. If there's a person receives a bill and he's not able to afford it, or he's able to afford it. Say, for example, he's able, but it's going to be difficult for him. And there's an option for settlement, and he would lie. If he lies and he says, I'm not able, I can't afford it, because there's an option of settlement, so they would make a settlement. This is the same thing applies here because he lied. He can say, can we have a settlement? But he cannot lie. If he lies, then it's haram. Every matter is clear? Yeah, that's fine. See, when it comes again to any dealings with transactions, everything is according to the intention of the other side. So, and that's why because of people lying, you would find the laws and the contracts are very detailed and things like doesn't leave any room for anything. But even whatever a person says, it's if you say something in contracts different than anything else, it's according to how the other side understands it. So the ta'reed, or using one sentence that can mean 2 things, and you mean one thing and they understand another thing, and you say I didn't lie, no, this is lying. So if a person says I don't have dollars, or I don't have money, but he has something else, right? They will understand from it. Or I'm broke, I'm broke, something physical, words like this. This is all lying, of course. Why? Because this is in contracts, it's according to the intentions of the other side, how they understood it. Anything with the, so maybe inshallah, if we can have you call it a tree? What? A decision tree. At least for the sulh, to kind of branch it out, to make the different types. That'd be nice, inshallah. And you can have it in English so that we can share it, inshallah. طيب, should we take the hadith? And if you have any questions also, for those who are online also, inshallah. But most importantly is with what is we have in the book. If no. Oh, no, yes. Let's read it, inshallah. So, فصل والصلح في الأموال قسمان أحدهما على الإقرار وهو نوعان. الصلح على جنس الحق مثل أن يقر له بدين أو عين فيضع أو يهب له البعض ويأخذ الباقي فيصح، ممن يصح تبرعه بغير لفظ صلح بلا شرط. الثاني على غير جنسه، فإن كان بأثمان عن أثمان فصرف، وبعرض عن نقد، وعكسه فبيع. القسم الثاني على الإنكار بأن يدعي عليه فينكر أو يسكت ثم يصالحه فيصح، ويكون إبراء في حقه وبيعا في حق مدع. ومن علم كذب نفسه فالصلح باطل في حقه. What's the hadith in بلوغ المرام? Yeah, we'll take the next half. Should we continue the half now, or we can do it next time? Since we do one بلوغ المرام and one. Okay, let's do the second half. What was it? What number was it? 141? Okay. 141, continuing the hadith of 141. We stopped at يا عبادي إنكم لن تبلغوا. We just read from the middle of the hadith. If you see it, so it's, if you count the line that says عن أبي ذر, so 1 2 3 4 5 6, the sixth line from the top that starts, that says فاستغفروني. In the middle it says يا عبادي. You guys there? So let's say يا عبادي إنكم لن تبلغوا ضري فتضروني، ولن تبلغوا نفعي فتنفعوني. يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم كانوا على أتقى قلب رجل واحد منكم ما زاد ذلك في ملكي شيئا. يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم كانوا على أفجر قلب رجل واحد منكم ما نقص ذلك من ملكي شيئا. يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم قاموا في صعيد واحد فسألوني فأعطيت كل إنسان منهم مسألته ما نقص ذلك عندي إلا كما ينقص المخيط إذا دخل البحر. يا عبادي إنما هي أعمالكم أحصيها لكم ثم أوفيكم إياها، فمن وجد خيرا فليحمد الله عز وجل ومن وجد غير ذلك فلا يلومن إلا نفسه رواه مسلم. Inshallah we'll split it again to we'll take 2-3 sentences where we stopped even though we should start from the beginning, but in this sentence يا عبادي إنكم لن تبلغوا ضري أو ضري. O my slaves, this is حديث قدسي. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O my slaves, إنكم لن تبلغوا, you would never reach. البلوغ is when you reach a level. ضري or ضري, that you would never reach to harm me. You would never harm me. الضر is the harm. So you can never harm me, can never reach that. فتضروني, you would never reach to harm me so that you would harm me. That would never happen. ولن تبلغوا نفعي, and you would never reach نفعي. You would never reach whatsoever to benefit me. فتنفعوني, so as a result of that you would benefit me. يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم. O my عباد, if the first of you, لو أن أولكم, the first of you, وآخركم, and the last of you, وإنسكم, and the ins of you, the human beings, وجنكم, and the jinn among you, كانوا, they were all together, like from the time of Adam alayhi salam till the day of judgment, and all the human beings and all the jinn, they were all upon, كانوا على أتقى. أتقى is the most heart that has taqwa, upon the most of taqwa, fear of Allah and obedience to Allah. قلبي رجل واحد منكم, if they all of them upon the most righteous and the most heart that is upon the taqwa of one man. That means if the taqwa of Allah weighs that much in the most perfect man, like for example the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, atqakum lillah. So if all of the human beings from the time of Adam alayhi salam till the day of judgment, and the jinn and everyone, they're all, their hearts is like the heart of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That means of righteousness and perfection like this. ما زاد ذلك, that would never increase في ملكي, in my dominion, in the kingdom of Allah, شيئا, nothing whatsoever. So the a'mal, the ibadah, all of that does not benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if all of you are the perfect human beings, that does not increase anything. That means no one benefits from his actions except yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not benefit from your ibadah. He created you to worship Him, and He doesn't benefit from your ibadah. It does not cause any benefit to Him whatsoever. And the opposite, يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم, that's why it's easy to memorize. كانوا على, they were upon أفجري, the opposite of أتقى, أفجر. Al-Fujur is the most wicked, the most evil, the most rebellious, and all kinds of evil. قلب رجل واحد منكم, on the heart of one man, the worst heart ever, like Fir'aun or whatever you name him. Then if all of the human beings were upon this, and you see in our lifetime how people can be so evil, right? So if all of the human beings are the worst evil ever, the hearts are full of evil and evil actions and corruption and so on, and they were all upon that, ما نقص ذلك من ملك شيئا, that does not decrease or take away from the mulk and the kingdom and the dominion of the heavens and the earth of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owns anything, which is describing the previous statement. No one can benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one can harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can never reach that. And the same thing with the deen of Allah, no one can harm the deen of Allah, no one can benefit even the deen of Allah. It's all for the human beings, for them to benefit or for them to be harmed. Otherwise the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always perfect, no one can do anything to it. So the honor, all of the honor is for those who are obedient to Allah, and the evil and wickedness is for those who disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we'll stop here, we'll just take these two sentences and we add it to the previous one and we continue it next time. So any question? Let's first take the attendance code. The attendance code is صلح إقرار إنكار. صلح إقرار إنكار. SULH إقرار IQRAR إنكار INKAR, or any as you see the message. There's a question: what were the three conditions of sulh on same kind of al-iqrar? What are the three conditions of sulh from jins al-haq? Anyone? The three conditions of the sulh for ala jins al-haq, on the same kind of al-haq. Yeah, we can use the word sulh with the conditions. Okay. Oh, sorry. We can't use the word sulh and no, donate. ممن يصح تبرعه. From the one that is permissible for him to donate. So it's he has the right to donate from his money. And the third one? Huh? Without condition. بلا شرط. So it has to be from someone that has the right to donate from his money. The second one is that without the word sulh because it's a gift or so. And the third one is without a condition. If someone chooses you as their guarantor, you can't decline. In the case of al-hawala, you cannot decline, as the Prophet ﷺ said. But this with the conditions met. He again, I'm not sure exactly if you mean the daman or al-hawala. If it's al-hawala, you're just transferring the loan because ABC, number B, he borrowed money from A, but C had already borrowed money from B. So B would go to A and says to him, take your money from C because C owes me money. This is al-hawala. So C cannot refuse because he already have a loan to B. But for al-daman, no, of course he has to accept. If someone would say so and so will be my daman, he will guarantee me. You have al-daman has to accept. He cannot do it in absentees. But because of the time of Isha, inshallah, we'll stop here. And again, inshallah, with this, read it, inshallah ta'ala, word by word. We're also trying to study Arabic while we're going through it. And if you have any questions, we can start with that, inshallah ta'ala, next time. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, barak ala Muhammad wa sallam. We have 4 minutes left with the adhan and